Music's greatest songs. Worth covering. Original classic hitmakers.
So yesterday I gave you a song from 6 months ago. It was released February, March this year. It was called We Lost Dancing, and it was about the pandemic. Fred again doing his wonder with Diplodocus and lots of different artists as well. The Blessed Madonna was in there. These artists are literally the people who are making music now, today, this era. So what better than to the next day flick back to the 1940s with actually an artist who was born in 1904. I couldn't go much further back. I mean, then we get into a proper kind of string orchestras.
1904.
1904.
Where is he from?
He's from America. And I'm talking about Glenn Miller. If you're listening to this and you know it, then you've clearly got some kooky, wonderful parents, I think.
I was watching Tom and Jerry. I think it's somehow mentioned there.
So, right, okay, so then that would be an influence as well. I didn't think of that. But I had kooky, crazy parents. So, they introduced me to this kind of stuff. And that was not even their parents' stuff. It's their grandparents' stuff. And I remember my dad saying, my granddad, ... Those were the stories. And of course, when you're a kid, you're locked on at the thought of your own father having a granddad, not just your grandpa.
I always thought that's very weird.
Yeah. So as a kid,
when my father says granddad, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah,
mad old man right there. That's really woo.
It goes back and back and back.
Granddad.
And so at any story, and even now when my dad says, well, my granddad, and he loved his granddad. Granddad actually brought daddy up for a few years. So they were super close. And so whenever he starts a story with, well, my granddad, I'm locked on, and we're talking years. This was their music. Glenn Miller, very, very famous, but got into quite a sort of a thunk. You know the word thunk, like I suppose a bit depressed because he could not find a way to make it. And this is the story of him. Alton Glenn Miller, 1904, born in March 1904, disappeared December the 15th, 1944. We've never seen him again since. And I'm going to tell you what happened. Well, I don't know what happened, but I can tell you where he disappeared. And this has always been one of the big Hollywood mysteries as well. He was in charge of the American big band called the Glenn Miller Big Band, but he was different, and I'm going to tell you why. That whole swing era, he was the leader. He's the best-selling recording artist from 1939 to 1942. He led one of the best-known big bands. His recordings include this song, which he was very famous for. He didn't write this one. He actually did a cover of it, but the cover of it now is so incredibly famous that no one actually even pays attention to the other versions of it, even the ones before this one. Amazing. Get this for a stat. In just 4 years, Glenn Miller scored 16 number one records, 69 top 10 hits, and this is more than Elvis Presley, he only had 38, and the Beatles, who only had 33, ever in their careers. So he already sold more than Elvis Presley and the Beatles, but who knew that? He volunteered to join the US military in 1942 to entertain the troops during World War II. That's when a lot of his music became very, very famous, and ended up with the US Army Air Forces. And on December the 15th, 1944, while flying to Paris, Glenn Miller was on board an aircraft that went into bad weather and disappeared over the English Channel. So he was near the UK. It was over the English Channel. Never seen again. They've never found the aircraft. They've never found him. Just gone. And that made him obviously incredibly. It's the whole James Dean, Marilyn Monroe. Glenn Miller's one of those. He grew up in Iowa and then ended up moving to Colorado. Lots of wonderful stuff about how he milked cows. His family were poor. So he made enough money, though, and I'm trying to find the year. In 1915, he made enough money from milking cows to buy his first trombone. From that moment, he never stopped playing the trombone. Wow. He was all over it, loved it. Moved to Colorado. Gradually, through the mid-30s, he's working as a trombonist. He's working as an arranger. He's composing for the Dorsey brothers. Apparently, they were huge. I know none of the names. Names like Annie's Cousin Fanny and Des Dem Does and Harlem Chapel Chimes and Tomorrow's Another Day. These are names of songs, but the most amazing kind of era that is all forgotten. If you know any of this, this? 4215. Tell me who you are and why you know information about this wonderful, wonderful artist. He signed for Bluebird Records. This was a turning point, 1938. He began recording for Bluebird, and that was a big deal. There's a strapline from a song by US3 or Us3. I don't know what you call that band, and I've played them. It's a song called Cantaloupe. From about 20 years ago, still super cool tune. It's this jazz swing song with a dance beat, and they sample a guy from Bluebird Records introducing either Glenn Miller or one of the big bands. And I remember with the crackly vinyl and the whole thing, and it's just a sample that's used at the beginning of the Cantaloupe song, which you'll know if I play it. And that's how I knew of Bluebird Records. And then here I am researching Glenn Miller, and up they pop. And they were very, very huge. So let's talk about how he got the sound he did. He's recorded. He did a big interview for a magazine, and he was really down about not being able to make it. So he just didn't understand what you do, and he turned around to an artist called Bernie. I'm trying to find it. There's so many notes. The man has a massive career. Turned around to this artist and went, "What do you do? How do you make it big? How do you score?" And this artist went, "Mate, I don't know. You just got to keep on going. You just got to keep at it." And he did. And as a result, he decided to use the clarinet in the place of the lead sax. And that gave him his sound. That differentiated the Glenn Miller Big Band from any other band. And that made him the most famous. Right, let's play In the Mood, okay? Jazz standard, recorded by Glenn Miller, the band leader. The most famous song of all time. And there are so many covers of this thing. This is now in the Grammy Hall of Fame. It's also a National Recording Registry, culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant song of America. Enjoy, 1949. It's Glenn Miller on Yalla Home.
If you liked this episode of Yalla Home, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.